When people start businesses and they come to me and they say, "Can you help me start a business?" Because they don't know what they're doing. I got a proposal from someone who said, "Oh, I want to set up this new car factory. Look, Elon Musk has got millions in the bank," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"You're 21. I love your enthusiasm. I think
It's
you're
not quite the
great,
same.
but he's had years. Like you'll have years ahead, and I can't invest in that because I don't invest in ideas. I invest in."
We had a 10-15 minute conversation before we joined the studio. You are this type of person who will give without have the expectation of
Oh,
getting
really?
anything back. And that's
Yeah.
why I want to say thank you for coming here
Oh,
today.
thank you. Well,
I
thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Yeah, I learned quite early in life is that if you replace your expectations with appreciation,
Mm.
right? You just, oh, I started a business. I appreciate that I have the mentality to start it, you see. Or I appreciate that, you're speaking. My partner always, when we go for dinner and I say, "Thank you for dinner," he goes, "No, no, thank you for coming along with me." Do you know what I mean? So it's really, I know it sounds really funny, but
Yeah.
you have to sort of like, if somebody cuts me off in the road, I go, "Oh, thank you for cutting me off," or "Thank you for not thanking me, allowing me to wait till you pass without saying thank you." So if you change your perception and
Yeah.
just drop the expectations, because expectations, they always lead.
That's so powerful. And
They
I,
always
I
lead.
honestly, I
Yeah,
appreciate that. I understand you're a very busy woman
yeah.
and you have all these amazing
No,
successes
I'm
and
never
stories.
busy. I hate
Mm.
that word because busy means no one invites you. Busy means you're not a priority to that person. Like if someone says, "Oh, I'm so busy," it means, "I'm sorry, but you're
I
not a
don't have time for
priority.
you.
I don't have time for you."
I get that. And I like that. I like that part. But also understand the part of how is it to be a business owner? How is it to
Hmm.
be your own boss, the CEO? Especially if you're wearing a lot of different hats inside of your own company, time becomes difficult sometimes.
Yes.
And specifically for me right now, time is very difficult.
Well, if you
But,
prioritize, like I've got a diary and that makes life
mm,
really easy for me. So if someone says to me, "Look, could you go for lunch on Tuesday?" I would never say no. I'd say actually Wednesday would be better.
mm,
So I try to stay positive and just deflect, like, "Oh, would you like to do the podcast at 9 o'clock at night? Actually, why don't we do it on Wednesday at 9?"
mhm.
So it's not like, "No, sorry, I can't because I've got other things," because then I feel the other person might think they're not a priority, which they are. It's just that I can't fit them there, but I'll fit them there. So if you have a
Right.
diary, then you are prioritized and you know how everything can fit. So everybody has an opportunity of your time.
I will steal that because
Yeah,
right now,
go for
right now,
it.
people are calling me, even my parents, because I'm working
Yeah.
nonstop 7 days a week. Not gonna lie,
Yes.
I'm at that stage.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, you're early
and they always
stage.
say, "Oh, you don't have time for us anymore. You don't care
Mm.
about us." And it's not that, but I
When they
have
say
those
that
things.
when they say that to you, you
Mm,
say, "How about," so you look at your diary and you
yeah.
say, "How about we meet on Sunday lunch?"
Mm,
And believe me, they'll stop saying that to you. Because when they say, "Oh, you
hmm.
never call or you never say," okay, how about I call you on Wednesday? How about I do lunch with you on Sunday?
Yeah.
And maybe it might be 2 weeks, but at least it will settle them down to think you still love them.
I will.
But don't.
I'll need to make this happen
Yeah,
because
if you say to them, "I'm so busy, mom. I'm doing,
yeah,
I'm starting a business," it just makes them feel like you've
they're not
neglected them.
important.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that they're not important
exactly.
anymore, and they're.
And I don't think that's the case. It's just I don't come from a family who they run any businesses in their life, and I think as the first generation from where I come from to start their own business, and actually this is not the first one. That's actually the second one. It's difficult, and especially if you don't know who you can talk to about certain things, because there's only so many things that can tell you about how to run a business. So, with me specifically, it was mostly self development. Who do I listen to? Who do I allow myself to get influenced by, so I can do all these great things, so I can achieve all the things that somebody else's did exactly in my niche, so I don't waste years and years of trial and error and learn as much as I can. But I'll take your advice and
Yeah,
I'll do that.
I think, in The Wizard of Oz, and Dorothy means, the wit, the good wit. And she said, "Oh, you had it in you all the time, Dorothy. You had it in you." So I think people can be a bit lazy because they actually have everything they need inside. Yes, it's good to sort of, when people start businesses and they come to me and they say, "Can you help me start a business?" Because they don't know what they're doing, then I can guide them. But
Hmm.
majority of the time, I tell them, like, you got to pull it out of yourself. You know what I mean? Because you can
Hmm.
get very lazy. Like sometimes I see on social media, like, "Oh, should I start this business?" And I'm just like, well, it's up to you. It's like saying, should I have a kid? I don't know.
It's a massive responsibility. It's
It
not
is.
easy.
Lots of people don't see that. That's another
Mm.
thing. It's like the younger generation, actually, they go on Instagram or they go on social. Oh, you know what? I got a proposal from someone who said, "Oh, I want to set up this new car factory. Look, Elon Musk has got millions in the bank," and I'm like,
Yeah,
"You're 21. I love your enthusiasm. I think
it's
you're
not quite the
great,
same.
but he's had years. Like you'll have years ahead, and I
Mm.
can't invest in that because I don't invest in ideas. I invest in you've got to show me the baby can walk."
Mm.
And I have had in the past one situation where I invested in somebody who did a lot of the structure. So she worked with me doing the runway and I seen her drive, but then to try to get the plane off the runway and sell the product, didn't have
She
that in
was
her.
right.
The whole thing me flat. So now I just invest in people who can show me that the product
Mm.
Are we live now?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
And coming back
Will
to
you edit and stuff along the way or
um, I try to keep things
okay.
as much natural as possible. And I
Great.
think once you have a flow in a conversation, it's not worth just completely
Yeah.
disrupt this flow.
Yeah.
You just go with it. Coming back to what you said with Elon Musk, the one thing that I want to add to that, Elon Musk was preparing, was sleeping to his office to,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you're not
yeah.
prepared to do that,
Yeah.
then I would
And I
say,
like that. I like that story because like the founder of the Spats underpants, she has a picture online where she's in a whole like floor full of like envelopes that she is putting all her spats and she posted individually. And when I help people start business, I say that rags to riches story is what sells. Like everybody wants to be part of that journey. If you start a business and you go, "Oh, I'm going to get an office and drive a Lamborghini," and
hmm,
it's almost like we missed the hike up Mount Everest and now you're up here, but that's not going to last. Like there's no structure to that initial part. You just jumped in a helicopter and went up a hill. Do you know what I mean? So
absolutely.
it's nicer to show. Like even I've got my book coming out, and I showed all the phases, like me sitting at midnight writing the book, and then when it came on a written copy,
Hmm.
and when it started, I had an interview with my editor, and it was all these little things so people can go on that journey with you rather than just, jumping into this, spending a lot of money. A lot of people spend a lot of money starting a business, which is not needed. The bare
Right.
necessity. And I always say the business plan.
Yeah.
Whatever you produce is business plan, your IP, so secure your trademarks, your patents,
So this is
and
the very first thing somebody
yeah,
should be doing 100% no matter what.
correct. A lot of people, they have a great idea and then they go, "We're going to go get some money. We're going to go get a loan." And people, it's really hard to secure a loan on an idea. It's an idea. What you need to do is sacrifice yourself and prove the idea can walk. It's like saying, I'm pregnant and I've got this baby in my womb and it's going to be the next Naomi Campbell.
Hmm.
Okay. You can't prove that yet unless you prove that this baby can do a catwalk. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So the initial stages when you start a business is get a job, Okay. And understand that you are not the business. Two separate entities, right?
Right.
So here's Dennis, and Dennis steps into this entity. And then at the end of the day, he comes home and he's somebody's, brothers, son, that sort of thing. And that's a lot of people don't get that. They think they are the business. So when you start a business, first of all, when you start a business, think of what you are talented in. Okay, so don't go set up a ice cream shop if you don't know anything about ice cream.
Absolutely.
Go get a job in an ice cream parlor then. And then if you
Hmm.
feel that's what you want to do, then start with a map.
When you said you invest in people instead of business ideas,
Absolutely.
what are the key factors that you're looking for in those personalities, in those people, for you to start investing? Or maybe what type of business models you deem they have the highest success rate for you to step in?
Well, they've got to have consistency,
Right.
and they've got to have patience, and they have to have drive. Like they've got to get up every
And how
day.
do you identify that, since you might not be with them for every single step they're doing
Well, it's
in
getting
that
to know
process?
them. I
Right.
wouldn't, like, if you came to me today and said, "Would you invest?" I wouldn't just invest in that. I want to see, like, I, don't quote me on this, but I remember I read somewhere where Peter Thiel invested in Facebook, and he said to Mark Zuckerberg, "You've got to show
Mm,
me 1 million subscribers before I have any interest in that."
makes sense.
And that's exactly it. So if you have an idea and then you prove to me like you worked really hard and now it's making some sales, and a lot of people say, well, why invest in then? But it's irrelevant when you invest in something. So sometimes something needs a hit. But truthfully, if your business is doing really good, you don't really need
An
investment. You
investor,
just
yeah.
recycle the money, put it back in
Yeah.
the business and keep growing it. But and then honestly, if you are investable, an investor finds you
Right.
because he wants a bit
That's
of
great.
that. Mm.
It's because I know a lot of people who have that mentality of, I need to find an investor earlier on so they can support me for marketing reasons, for patterns, for, I don't know, for take the thing off the ground, I guess. And then because I have this brilliant idea. So for you, that wouldn't be what you
No,
look for.
because again, if I give the analogy of the baby,
Right.
right? So your baby comes out, and then you want to put weight, this money, on this baby. I see money as this weight. So you know, you a baby comes out and then you say, okay, I'm going to get a loan to make this baby walk. And so you've just put this weight on the shoulders of this baby. So yeah, I struggle with that a lot when I see
Mm.
people say, well, I'll just get a bank loan. And then you haven't even proved that the product can make money. So how are you going to pay back that
Or even
loan?
if you're going to enjoy it, 9
Mm,
times out of 10 is about personal fulfillment,
yes.
whether you enjoy this or not.
You've gotta love it because 'cause
Yeah.
you're with it 24/7. Do you mean when your idea transforms into the business, it's like you gotta feed that baby every 2 hours and make the baby walk. The wonderful thing, what I witnessed through COVID, was a lot of people not taking accountability. "Oh,
Mm.
COVID sunk my business."
Right.
No, you sunk your own business because there was no net. There wasn't money in a bank account to
Hmm.
keep you going for 6 months. Your SWOT analysis wasn't strong enough because had you know there was going to come a global downfall, you would have known what to do. And those businesses like Amazon and the ones that survived, they had a very strong structure.
Mm.
And the other ones that didn't, you'll know that they don't have a structure.
A lot of restaurants and a lot of local shops, they did struggle. Having said that, though, the ones that pivot to the right ideas during the pandemic, they make more money than usual. So
Yeah.
I think it's about, okay, there's a pandemic, something happens that's affecting everybody. How do you change? How do you separate yourself from everybody else and from keeping yourself in business, and how you can, just keep making money? Because if I wake up and I say, oh, it's a pandemic, I can't do anything either way. Most of those businesses, most of those restaurants, they don't do anything either way. So I won't do anything as well. If I have that same mentality as everybody else, then I won't succeed in
Hmm.
any shape or form.
You need to be innovative in business.
Absolutely.
Like the thing is, you know, a lot of restaurants could have said, look, I got all the stock. Why don't I send out to my customers? They had done a mailing list. Look, I'll sell this to you for this amount of
Hmm.
money. Hairdressers. Why didn't most hairdressers go, okay, I've got this mailing list. I'll put shampoo, conditioner together. I'll put a USB plug in it, how to cut your hair, and I'll mail that to you every month for $9.99. Because most of them didn't do a business plan and
Hmm.
most of them missed out the SWOT. So there's a threat. Okay. Um, Other businesses, like I had a lot of yoga teachers, for example. This is a really good. And before even the pandemic hit, I said to them, okay, what happens if your studio shut down for some reason? Oh, well, get online.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got online.
Right.
And then the pandemic hit. And I said, what happens if the internet goes down? Get a USB plug, put your stuff on there, and ship it out to your client.
Hmm.
So I would say a really good analogy is if your child is ill, you're not just going to sit there and allow your child to be ill. You will do everything to save your child.
Absolutely.
And that's the way your mentality has to be in business. And that's why I come back to when you've got a business idea, which is great, be positive, but be conservative and not over optimistic. And don't go out and tell the entire world.
Right.
It's a bit like some woman gets pregnant. She's not going to go out and tell everybody in the first week. She might tell
Right.
them in month 4
Yeah.
or 5 when she feels that there is a structure. So in that period, you're doing a business
Hmm.
and you are putting all the things down of the key aspects, the SWOT, your influences, and everything, so that you have a solid base. I say business plan is like the foundation of a house. Once that's in place, then you need an address, which is the
Right.
trademark,
Yeah.
right?
Makes sense.
And then the second floor is your marketing strategy and plan, which are really different. A lot of people just do a marketing plan and that collapses because there's no framework, strategy. Then there's the third floor. So think of this as a lighthouse. So you've got base, marketing, brand is your personality of the business. Okay, so ask yourself, look at your business. Okay, what kind of personality? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it sound like?
What do you stand up for?
Yes.
Right.
And then the top one are all your other things like your social media strategy, your sales strategy, your
Mm.
advertising strategy. And now that lighthouse is at the top and the ships are finding you. You see, because of the light.
That's very an easy way for you to
Very
describe it.
easy.
Thank you for
Business,
doing this for me.
no problem. Business is very easy. I think a lot of people
Mm.
complicated with overthinking
Right.
and complexities. And like I said to you, I've got a book coming out at the end of the year, and it's the art of analogies in business, how to start a business in layman's terms. It's really, you don't need to overthink things in business as long as you've got a plan and you follow the plan, and it needs to be flexible. Everything changes. I go to my business plan, all my strategies once a year, and
Hmm.
I put them up, I change them, I adapt them. And it's a really good actually business plan because you can see, okay, I set up Facebook, I had 11 followers, when I first started. Now I'm going 22 followers. And it is actually quite
It
a,
grows. Yeah.
yeah,
Everybody starts from zero.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But you can see your you can see your development of
Mm.
what you're doing.
You are an international consultant for intellectual property, AI, and big data.
Yes.
I came across this forum from the World Economic Forum. They did a research and they said there were 10 topics, the most high and the most popular topics in 2024, and AI and big data was one of them. How important would you say that subject is in today's world? Why?
Is very important. I think from the intellectual property side that I'm coming from, which I'm educated in, especially with artificial intelligence, it's so fast. Like if you're not
Mm,
in that sphere of things or that niche, you don't really know what's going on. But it is so fast and so much. From the IP side, when you're using like Chat GPT or BART and you are creating things from grabbing things from the internet,
hmm.
there's a lot of copyright issues and copyright
Right.
infringements, and we see that with authors at the moment. When they're disputing that their information on the internet is pulled into ChatGPT, so things like that really you have to look in your business, um, your IP strategies, how you're using AI in your business, and the GDPR as well, and
Hmm.
how you're using that on the IP level. But IP as well, you should have a strategic plan with your IP in your business as well, especially in this day and age.
When you say IP, can you explain that a little, expand more on that?
Yes, yeah, because yeah,
Is
I
that
think
your address on the web, you mean, or
no,
what
no.
does
So
that
that's
mean?
one thing is the IP, but IP in my world stands for intellectual
Yeah.
property.
Hmm.
Okay, so if we divided the two words of intellectual,
Right.
which is the creativeness, what's in your mind, and property is what you put on. Okay, so if I let's say a really good case was the Meghan Markle, which I won't go into long, lengthy, but she wrote a letter to her father, which he sold to the press. And she won the case because the information that her words in her head went onto this piece of paper and
Mm.
then it was sent to him. So he owns the piece of paper, but he doesn't own the words and he doesn't have the rights to those words to send it out. So that's what IP is that it's the creative expression that you are putting on. So there are three main things in IP, which is the trademark, and then the copyright,
Hmm.
and then the patent. So if you look at all those three, so trademark. So if you came up with a name for your company, that is the word, and then you were to put the name into a design. That's figurative, but you're laying it on a piece of property.
Right.
See?
Yeah.
The same with copyright. So you say to yourself, I'm going to write a book, and those words are my brain and my mind, and now I'm putting it on a piece of paper. Then you copyright that. And same with patent. So patent, you say, okay, I'm going to design a new car. So the idea's in my head, and now I lay it on a piece of paper, and I'm going to get it patent. So those are the main. We also have trade secrets, which you can't register. It's just like Kentucky Fried Chicken has the recipe, which they trademarked. They registered it for many years, but then they decided not to do it, and now they just have the trade secrets. So they have a secret formula. You work for Kentucky Fried Chicken, you have to sign an NDA, and you can't tell anybody about it. And there's also the geographic location. So if you decided you were going to produce a wine in Italy and name it Bordeaux, you would have a lot of problems with that because Bordeaux is in France.
Right.
And there's indigenous trademarks. A very good case was with Kim Kardashian, who tried to use the word kimono, which is a really
Yeah.
heritage traditional name for Japan. So she had to change that. So it's a lot of branches to IP, but especially as we enter the digital era and you are
Hmm.
creating patents through the digital world, or you are creating pictures, you just have to be a little bit more conscious that you aren't stepping onto intellectual property infringement.
Does that include the picture, the AI generated pictures?
Yes. It's a really weird subject, that
Mm,
subject. I really, really enjoy it because I did write an article about the paintbrush. So if I had a paintbrush and I went to the forest and I decided I was going to paint a tree,
yeah,
am I infringing on Mother Nature? Because the tree's been there already. And am I copying the tree? And it's very debatable because with AI, it generates the paintbrush can't generate it without me
right.
using it. But I'm also using the color palettes that other people have used.
Yeah,
If you use Paintbrush or Adobe on the computer, you are AI assisting, but you have to be really careful that you are not creating an image that's already out there. There's a really interesting case which is called the new Rembrandt painting, and what this because Rembrandt with copyright you can only hold it for 70 years after you pass, and then it's open domain.
hmm,
Mickey Mouse is coming open domain now,
right.
but he took all of Rembrandt's paintings and he did the scientific, measurements of the eyes, and he created a new Rembrandt painting. But because Rembrandt is passed away, there's no ownership of that. But that's what I'm saying with AI. It's really easy to do that. So it's at the moment there's not enough rules and regulations
Right.
for the whole IP factor in the digital era. At the moment, animals and robots cannot own AI.
Mm.
Sorry,
That's an
they can't
interesting
own the IP. Sorry.
that's an interesting topic because AI has been ever since Elon Musk created ChatGPT. And now everything AI, I don't think will have an end, if I'm honest. If not, I think AI will take over most things, including jobs in the near future. That's why every person I talk to, I say, hey, if you're doing X, Y, Z, that can be replaced. Most likely, it will be replaced. So make sure you find a skill and be very good at it, make money, so you don't have to be one of those statistics. To your knowledge, how important is AI today and to the trajectory or before 2030? So people can then at least um, prepare.
Yes, it's steamrolling.
Mm,
I would say invest in a robot. I know it sounds a bit funny, but if you, I think what's really interesting is during COVID, AI became our connection because we were disconnected from humans. And so we stood at home and we played on our phones and we were on our computers. And it was like this really strange movement of AI moving in. And as you see people on the tube and train, they are just glued to their phone now. I couldn't remember, I could be wrong, but before COVID, I didn't see that much glued to your phone and glued to your
mm,
tablet or glued whatever. And so it's almost like it moved in and that became our connection. And so I'll do like for example, my theory is by 2032 there won't be any mobile phones. Will be holograms. So you will visit your friend as a hologram. But you need to really be open to AI.
right.
I'm in a lot of author groups because I write a book and the oh, it's horrible, it's evil, it's you're not writing your book. It can't be stopped. You just, it needs to be, you need to work with it, not
Right.
against
Against
it.
it. Yeah.
And you need to understand how you can work with it.
Hmm.
See, yes, in a lot of shops, like you go into supermarkets and you see these machines now that are doing the work, not the person
Not
doing
a
it.
person.
But
Yeah.
I do believe that there'll always have to be a human to monitor it or to keep coding it. So there will be, but yes, a lot of jobs will be replaced. You look at Amazon in the warehouse,
Mm,
and it's all robots now. So don't get upset with them, but work with them and
yeah.
work alongside them.
It's interesting that you're saying that because going back a little bit to what happened with COVID, I think that was, well, I'm not going to talk about the whole pandemic thing, but I'm going to talk about the whole what happened with AI and technology and so on. I think that was a test period for a lot of countries as well to determine how they can see the behavior of their cities and their countries, and based on how they place those rules. I'm going to leave it to that.
Yes.
With that being said, I do see, and we do see this real time when he said with the holograms with VRs.
Mm.
Apple came with a new headset that you just wear, and it's pretty much everything real time. And you're moving the cursor with your eyes, and the only thing you need to do is just double click, and everything is real time. So I think that we'll go into that era where we will be seeing those things, sure. And coming back to what you said with ChatGPT, I don't think it's evil or wrong to be against ChatGPT. Personally, if I hire somebody, I will ask them to use ChatGPT to save time so we can do more things and be more productive, because it helps you, gives you more ideas. And then you can tailor those ideas based on who you are and based on your message. And I think that is really powerful. Now, if people seeing this in the wrong way, or and they say, "Oh, I'm not going to use ChatGPT because X, Y, Z," I think they're really missing out to a lot of different things. Because
Oh, completely. I think also robots are more effective. Like they're more efficient. Like, if you hire somebody, for example, to do things and then they take a smoke break and they're in the, canteen drinking a cup of coffee or whatever. Yeah, I do understand they need a break, but if you really want to get something done, get a robot to do, because they don't they're not emotional and they'll just get the work done for you. But with ChatGPT, I would say just take a bit of conscience that you are not copyright infringing and that you aren't
right,
stealing people's work, because there are people that work really hard and they write their stories, but you can
hmm
assist it and then amend it. But it is much quicker
right,
and it's more effective. But when you talked about the VR, I dip a lot into the metaverse as well. So that's Web 3.0. So
right.
so Web 1 was when Hotmail came, and Web 2 now is Facebook, Instagram, and Web 3 we're going into the metaverse and the multi. So in that case, you don't even need a VR set. You just create your avatar
Right.
and you're in there. There's loads of conferences going on
Oh,
in there.
really?
You
How
can
can I
buy.
join in one of these
Yeah,
metaverse?
definitely, definitely.
You need to show me those things.
Yeah, there's a small course you could take on it,
Okay.
so you could learn a little bit about
Mm,
it. And there's lots of money to be made in the metaverse as well, because you can do conferences, you can do
right,
podcasts in there. Nike's in there doing fashion shows. Louis Vuitton's in there
right.
doing fashion shows.
Because you can be anywhere at
You
any
can be
point.
anywhere in the world and then
Ah,
join. And the great thing also is that you could buy something from Nike and then have it in your virtual closet and say, I don't want that anymore. Can
that's
I exchange
so
it for something? And so it's not.
interesting
Yeah,
and funny at
no,
the
it's
same
really,
time.
really good. Yeah. So a lot of businesses like JFK Airport is in the metaverse.
Right,
But there's a metaverse and then there's a multi-metaverse as well. But you need to understand it's not regulated. There's no jurisdiction. So that makes it a bit
right.
hard for the IP world, like the intellectual property world, because intellectual property is based by jurisdiction, which is by countries. And so it's just a big, you know, sort of thing out there, which is fantastic. There's so many
Yeah.
opportunities to make money in the metaverse as well.
I think if I remember this correctly, there was a guy, an American guy, who bought real estate
Hmm.
over in Metaverse,
Yes, of
over
course.
how many millions
Yeah.
worth of real estate. And I think it was 2 years ago or last year or something like
Yeah.
that. And that went viral.
Yes. Yeah, you can buy land in there,
Right.
an office. And
But that's imaginary things,
it's
right?
not imaginary,
Where
it's
do they?
virtual.
Ah, okay.
So think of
Makes
like
sense.
a really good example is like, when you play those video games.
Yeah, I know what that is, but I'm saying, how do you know that you have the rights for that? Exactly back to what you said.
Well, you
Because
need
if you
to be
buy a piece of
educated,
property
yes.
now, you know that if you go to that piece of property is going to be there.
Exactly. You need to be educated. It's a bit like saying to you, I'm from Canada, okay, go buy land in Canada, and you go, well, where do I buy it? Like, what part is it good? So you would
Mm,
have to research that. It's a bit like you're from Greece and you say to me, go buy land in Greece. And I'm thinking, where would I buy land in Greece? I don't know. So
mm-hmm.
you need to get educated about the areas. Like I said, there's the metaverse, and then there's the multi metaverse as well. So
Right.
there's lots of different locations and areas that are worth more. Area like, in London, if you live in Mayfair, it's going to be more expensive and worth more money
Right.
than, if you live out of London, sort of thing. So yeah, you need to, I read up on it a lot. I take a lot of courses on it just so that I'm more educated.
And you
And
see this is gonna happen at
I
some point.
do. It's again,
Right.
it's with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, it's not the greatest reputation, but I do believe we'll move that direction just with more safeguarding. Because, like I said, I just repeated that there isn't a jurisdiction in there, and it is all not regulated or anything like that. But yeah, I think we are going more digital, and we're moving that direction. It was very interesting because I seen something on Facebook, and it was a video from a little boy, and it was from the I think it was 1940s or 50s, and the guy said, "What do you predict will happen in 2000?" And he said, "I think we're going to be looking at screens, and they're going to be talking to us." And I
Yeah, I've
thought,
seen that.
that's so crazy
Yeah.
because you know, just the way things are moving and social evolution is, Daniel Priestley writes a book that everything happens 30 to 40 years later, when it gets created. Because robots were already in the 50s and,
Mm,
we just
yeah.
didn't know much about them at that time.
There's a lot of conspiracy theories about
Oh, of course,
that.
of course. Everybody has a conspiracy about something. So it's just important that you get educated and you're just constantly
Yeah.
learning. And, it's funny because, I've done 3 master's degrees, and my master's that was in 2018 probably is outdated now because, I'm just, it's evolving so quickly.
Hmm. If I were to invest in something, whether that is with my knowledge, increase my knowledge, or putting down money towards something that I will need for the future,
Yeah.
what that skill set would be based on your expertise, knowledge, and your vision towards the future,
Well, I'm a really risk averse person.
right?
So, back in my days when I was a little bit non-risk, I would just invest in something that I think, oh, this is great.
Mm-hmm.
But now I sort of look at all the points to it. Something like a robot, there's a robot in Singapore named Sophia. She's the first
Yeah.
robot that's got a passport. She can talk, all
Oh,
those.
I saw a podcast with
Oh,
that.
you did? Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, yeah. So, and there's another guy, a Russian guy, I can't remember his name, but he's just built a robot
Hmm.
that looks like him. Um, I think it's a very early stage because you really have to lay down all the risk aspects to a robot, and what sort of robot that you would invest in, or in anything that you come across. Like, does it have a potential? You need to see the layout, the SWOT analysis, understanding can this generate money? It's a bit
Mm-hmm.
like looking at a car and saying, oh, I
Yeah.
really like that car, but is it going to die in 10 years' time? Do you know what I mean? So,
How can somebody invest in robots? Is it through crypto? Is it through
um, well, it
blockchain?
really depends. I mean, you would put stocks into something, wouldn't you? Or you would sort of put your money onto something. Like
Mm-hmm.
Sophia's a good idea if you wanted to invest in her. Like, I don't know where she would go and how that investment personally would work for me. How she would generate, maybe she would generate money through endorsements or sponsorship, or sometimes you invest in something like, if you were to invest in a cancer research, you have to kind of go into that saying, okay, I'm investing that to better people, but there might never be a return on that. But it's something that I want to be part of. So I think digital era, anything digital is a good investment as
Right.
long as you understand what you're investing.
And if someone doesn't have any experience or knowledge about investing, what would be your advice?
Go
to
get
that.
it. Go learn
Right.
it. Yeah, don't be silly. And, it's a bit like you're going to buy a house. You got to
Mm-hmm.
do your due diligence. You
Right.
look at, you look at the leasehold or the deeds, the land register, like do all of that before you jump into something. And also understand that when you put money into something, don't expect it back. Never
Okay.
put money, don't lend money, don't put money into anything without the expectation I might lose it
Mm-hmm.
and it will never come back. And if I are okay to lose it, then I can invest that.
I agree with that because I have that same mantra on when I do marketing for my own business. I always say how much money I'm willing to lose to
Yes,
test different things.
correct.
Because especially with the whole marketing world, if you involved in that area, because most businesses, if not all businesses, have to, they have that the wrong way. They all say, okay, how much money should I invest? Not how much money I'm comfortable losing
Yes,
instead.
yeah,
So I think that have saved me the troubles, the worries, the anxiety, and the stress from a lot of different things.
of course, yes.
But yeah.
And then you think also like, I give the analogy is like starting a business, like having a baby, and then you have this child,
Hmm.
and you think to yourself, okay, well, how much am I going to invest into this child to make it a success? And, that kind of comes to your exit strategy. You say, okay, well, I like this child eventually. I mean, the child has its own, I think, as a business owner, you guide the child and you see what the child is good at, its skills and so forth. But it needs an exit. So you'd say, okay, well, maybe it'll become a lawyer and I need to make sure, maybe help it through university. And in the end, when it exits, it's on six figures or seven figures as a lawyer, or it's an entrepreneur now, or, it took this route and I invested this money to help this child get to where it's come. And now, because it's successful, well, hopefully the returns will come back to you,
Hmm.
but it's just understanding, looking, whenever you start a business, look at long-term goals. Like when
I
you
see.
build a house, think, where am I going to exit if there's a fire? Or eventually, the mentality is you need to exit in order to do other things. And that exit has to be quite strong, and
Mm.
putting the right assets into the business, into the project in order for it to get the maximum exit at the end.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
And to wrap up things, if you were to advise me or anybody else, and since we're talking about exit strategies, what time frames are we talking here, and how should somebody see those things? Is it 10 years, 15 years,
It's
20
really up
years?
to them, but just do an exit. Do an exit from day one. Again, business plan. And in that business plan should be your exit strategy and all your intellectual property. Those are
Mm-hmm.
the main things. And you say, okay, I see that I'm going to exit this business in 15 years and I'm going to exit for 15 million. There's no problem with that. You can put any figure, aim high, but you have to be able to put the assets in it every year to get to that 15. So business plan is asset number one, marketing strategy, asset two, your IP, that's an asset, your marketing strategy, your brand strategy, social media, then all the key players, your customers, your likes, that all becomes asset. A really good analogy is the two cars. So you have car A, which is just a car, but car B, over the years, you've put surround sound, you've put TVs in the back, you've put plush interior. And when we go sell these cars, that car is going to be worth more and that
Mm-hmm.
car is going to be more reliable. And that's because you put in the effort in that. So you can merge it, you can merge the business acquisition, you could stay on as a board to give advice, and then, they pay you your 15 million and you go off and do something else like Bill Gates did, like Mark Zuckerberg did. They've all done that.
Mm-hmm.
Because your job in life is to, well, my job is basically to help as many people as I can. And then once I have helped that business grow to its full potential, then maybe somebody else can take it over and expand it further.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that example. I love
Thank
that
you.
analogy.
Yeah.
So that wraps up today's episode. Where can people find you and follow you on social?
Fantastic. Yeah. No, thank you so much for having me. I've really
Absolutely.
enjoyed this
It's been a pleasure.
podcast. So I'm available on LinkedIn under my name, Nancy Steidl. I've also got an author page on Facebook. So it's Nancy Steidl Author.
Hmm.
My book is coming out at the December time, but you can pre-order. So I'm on my website, which is www.thebusinessmission.com. And we have a shop there. You can purchase or pre-order the book. I'm on YouTube. I've got a little YouTube channel as well. I don't use it that much, but there's lots of information. I do lots of tutorials and talk about all the perks about starting a business. And yeah, so you can find
Brilliant.
me all those.
Yeah. So if you guys enjoyed today's episode, make sure you go subscribe to all the channels and go subscribe to our channel as well. ThirstCast on all social, and I'll see you next time.